Hello and welcome to my classroom. Today on our agenda is William Shakespeare sonnet number 18. But before we get to the topic, let's have a look at the word sonnet. We all know a very famous brand named Sony. Now this particular word Sony and sonnet share the same origin or the same root. In Latin language there is a word sonus. S-O-N-U-S, sonus means sound. And from this Latin language, French people formed a new word, that is sonnet. The spelling is different, S-O-N-E-T. And from this French people, Italian people formed a new word, that is sonetto, S-O-N-E-T-T-O, which means a small song. And from this Italian word, we have got this English word sonnet, S-O-N-N-E-T, that is our sonnet. Now, what is a sonnet? Sonnet is a lyric poem of 14 iambic pentameter lines. Now, I will discuss about these 14 iambic pentameter lines later in my discussion. Now, what are the major kinds of sonnets that we have in English literature? The first one is Italian sonnet or Petrarchan sonnet. Now, Italian sonnet is also called Petrarchan sonnet. It was named after the great 14th century Italian poet Petrarch, but Petrarch didn't invent it. It was used earlier by Dante. Petrarch made it famous by using it to celebrate his love affair with Laura. Okay. Now, what is the structure of Petrarchan sonnet? Petrarchan sonnet has two parts. The first part is called octave, consisting of 8 lines, and the second part is called sestet, consisting of 6 lines. What is the rhyme scheme of Petrarchan sonnet? It is A-B-B-A, A-B-B-A, C-D-E, C-D-E, or C-D-C, or C-D-C. Okay, in some variation, it's C-D-C, C-D-C. Okay, so the rhyme scheme of Petrarchan sonnet, I repeat once again, A-B-B-A, A-B-B-A, C-D-E, C-D-E, or C-D-C, C-D-C in some variation. Okay, so this is Petrarchan sonnet. And the second one is English sonnet or Shakespearean sonnet. English sonnet is named after Shakespeare because Shakespeare made it famous. Okay, Shakespeare is the greatest exponent of English sonnet. It means that it is not that Shakespeare invented this kind of form or Shakespeare alone wrote this kind of sonnet. Many poets in 1590s wrote sonnets. In 1590s, sonnet writing was in vogue. Many poets such as Spenser, the Earl of Surrey, Sidney, Samuel Daniel, Michael Drayton, like Thomas Lodge, Richard Lynch, William Smith, Bartholomew Griffin, all these poets who were Shakespeare's predecessors and his contemporaries wrote sonnets. Okay, but Shakespeare made it famous. That is why it is called Shakespearean sonnet. Now, what is the structure of Shakespearean sonnet? Shakespearean sonnet has 3 quatrains. Quatrains means a short poem of 4 lines. So each quatrain consists of 4 lines and it has a concluding couplet. So 12 plus 2, total 14 lines. Okay, and it is in Iambic Pentameter. I will discuss it later. Okay, Iambic Pentameter. You have to understand the pattern, Iambic Pentameter. It involves a lots of calculations. Okay, so Shakespearean sonnet has 3 quatrains and a concluding couplet. Now the question is that Shakespeare is famous for his dramas, for his plays, his tragedies, his comedies, his historical plays. But it is interesting to note that Shakespearean sonnets outsell anything else he wrote, and there are 2 clear reasons behind it. First of all, Shakespearean sonnets are potentially autobiographical and everyone is interested in his private life. And the second one is it is possible to argue that nothing exists comparable brevity and excellence that digests such intimate personal experience. Okay, and there is another reason too. Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets, and the first 126 sonnets are addressed to a fair young man, and the last 28 sonnets are addressed to the dark lady. But the real identity of this fair young man and the dark lady is still unknown to us. It's a mystery, and we always get attracted to mystery. Shakespearean sonnets are shrouded with mystery. Okay, we don't know the real identity of these fair young man and the dark lady, though there are lots of research works on it, lots of theses are there on it, but still we don't know the real identity of this fair young man and the dark lady. Okay, so in the first 17 sonnets, Shakespeare requests his friend to get married and have children, only to preserve his matchless beauty by passing it to the next generation. Shakespeare's friend, the fair young man, has a matchless beauty, and Shakespeare want to preserve it by any means. But in sonnet number 18, we see a new philosophy, we see a new idea. It comes up with a new idea or a new philosophy. Okay, so this is our topic, sonnet number 18. The first line is, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? It's a question, but before I get to the meaning of this line, I will show you the iambic pentameter line. This is, I hope you can see it. This is the iambic pentameter line. Look, each line contains 10 syllables. Divide the words into 10 syllables like this, and divide the 10 syllables into 5 parts or 5 pairs. Okay, can you see it? 5 parts or 5 pairs. Each pair is called foot. So a sentence consists of 5 feet. So it is called pentameter. Penta means 5. A sentence has 5 feet. Each feet contains 2 syllables, and the red arrow mark indicates the accent or the stress. So the stress or the accent is always on the second syllable, right? So this is the iambic pentameter line, okay? The line which has 5 feet, and in each feet there are 2 syllables, and the accent is always on the second syllable. It is called iambic pentameter line. This is the system of writing a sonnet. So it involves a lots of complicated calculations. So it's obvious that it's not that easy to write a sonnet, okay? Now come to the implications that are in the first question. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? A lot of implications are packed in this question. It's a question, but it doesn't require any answer. Rather, it asserts something. It gives its own answer. It's a question, but it is not asked to get any information, okay? It asserts something. If you read the question again and again, then you will feel that it demands a negative answer. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Means I shall not compare thee to a summer's day. Rather, I should not compare thee to a summer's day. Why? The first line of the sonnet is a question, and the rest of the sonnet is the answer to it. Okay? In the second line, a new consciousness emerges from the mind of the poet. Thou art means you are. Thou art are the poetical form of you are. Thou art more lovely. Thou art lovelier. Thou art, you are lovelier and more temperate and more moderate than the summer's day. Why? Because rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. In summertime, sometimes rough winds shake and shade the beautiful flowers and birds from the trees. So it's one of the flaws that a summer day has. Now, better to understand the Western summer first. In the Western countries or in the cold countries, summertime is a pleasure time. There, summer represents, birth, life, growth, fertility, happiness, pleasure, okay, flowers, feelings, emotions. So all the people are happy in summertime there in the cold countries. So summer has its own beauty, but with it, it has its own limitations too. Okay, what are the limitations? The first one is this: rough winds or hard winds do shake the darling buds of May. Is it clear? Then come to the fourth line of the first quatrain, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Lease is a contract. Lease means contract, as if it were a contract with the God, as if it were a contract with the Almighty, that the summer day, that the summer or the summer's day will have a few days to live. That means, and summer's lease hath too short a date means a summer's day or the summer season is very short-lived. It's transient, it's fleeting, it's not immortal. It will die. Okay, so the contract is that summer will have, or a summer's day will have a little time to live. So it's short-lived. Okay, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. The line simply means that the summer season or a summer's day is very short lived. It is not permanent, it will die soon. The beauty of a summer's day will fade soon. Okay, so this is one of the important flaws that a summer's day or a summer season has. Okay, now get down to the second quadrant. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines. The eye of heaven means the sun. It's a figure of speech. So it sometimes happens that the sun in the summertime becomes very unbearable because of the heat, because of the scorching heat. It becomes unbearable. Then we can't tolerate this kind of burning sun. So it's no good. It's not a beautiful thing at that time. Sun, though sun is very beautiful to look at dawn, okay, or at dusk. So sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines. So this is one of the flaws, and that's why Shakespeare says that you, my friend, are more temperate. Temperate means moderate, not too hot, not too cold. It's mild. Okay, so sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion deemed. Again, sometimes the golden face of the sun, the dazzling light of the sun, overcast by dark patches of cloud. So even the beauty of the sun is not eternal. It can't keep its beauty with it forever. Sometimes it is too hot that people can't bear it. Sometimes its beauty gets shrouded, gets covered up with the dark patches of cloud. So the beauty of a summer's day, the beauty of the summer season, even the beauty of the sun is not permanent. It's fleeting. It's not permanent. This is a very important word, permanent. It's not permanent. It's fleeting. It's transient. It doesn't last for long. And every fair from fair sometime declines. This is very important. And every fair from fair sometime declines. The line has two fairs. The first fair is an abstract noun, it means beauty. And the second fair stands for a nominal compound. That is a beautiful thing or a beautiful person, a beautiful man or a beautiful woman. And every fair from fair sometime declines. That means every beauty from every beautiful thing or every beautiful person sometime will die, sometime will decay. So beauty decays. It doesn't last for long. You can't keep beauty with you forever. If you are beautiful, don't be so proud of it because you can't keep it with you forever. It doesn't last for long. It will decay. It will die down. It will evaporate. It will vanish. Okay? It is not a permanent virtue. By chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. So your beauty decays. Any beautiful thing will lose its beauty by chance. That means by a stroke of misfortune, by a stroke of bad luck, you will lose your beauty. It happens sometimes. Or naturally by the in course of time, with the passage of time, naturally you will lose your beauty. Okay, naturally the summertime, a summer's day loses its beauty. Naturally, it's natural. It's a natural law that you will lose your beauty. You can't keep beauty with you forever. It's a natural law. Okay, it's an eternal rule. Okay, that beauty will not last forever. We will have to give it up at some point of time in our life. It's a law of nature. Okay, so by chance or nature's changing course, nature changes all the time, and with its changing course, you will lose your beauty too. Okay, you can't retain it with you. Untrimmed. This word means despoiled of external ornament, and this word untrimmed is directly linked to line number 7, especially to the second fair. That means every fair from fair, the second fair. That means a beautiful person or a beautiful thing. A beautiful person or a beautiful thing is untrimmed. That means is despoiled of external ornament. Nature will snatch away the beautiful things one by one with the passage of time from every beautiful person or every beautiful thing. That's the eternal rule. And this is the reason for which Shakespeare doesn't want to compare his friend's beauty to that of the summer's day, because he will not let it die. Is the point clear? William Shakespeare wants to preserve his friend's beauty forever. Now the question is how? But thy eternal summer shall not fade. The third quatrain begins with a kind of confirmation that you have a summer. So everybody knows that Shakespeare's friend is very beautiful, very handsome. So he has summer. Summer stands for here beauty. Summer is not the season here, okay? So in this line, I am in the third line. I am in the first line of the third quatrain. So in the first line of the third quatrain, you can see a word summer, but this summer doesn't mean the season. This summer stands for beauty, okay? And it is eternal. So Shakespeare says that you have eternal summer and it will not die. So it is confirmed that, Shakespeare says, it is confirmed that you have beauty and it is eternal. And it is eternal. And the point is that your eternal beauty will not die. How can an eternal beauty die? It's not possible. If it is eternal, it will not die. It's easy to understand. But the point is that how does Shakespeare say that your beauty is eternal? It's a question. But thy eternal summer shall not fade. Your eternal beauty will not die. Your eternal beauty is not a kind of fleeting entity. It is not transient. It will be with you forever. That is your beauty. That is your eternal beauty. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou wast. You will not lose the beauty that you own. You have a great beauty and you will not lose it, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Thou ost is the poetic form of own. The beauty you own, you will not lose it. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. Death has been personified here. I am in the third line of the third quatrain. Death has been personified here. Okay? Understand clearly the death imagery. Death has been personified, and death is very powerful, and he is very proud of his strength, his power. Why? Because everyone is mortal in this world. No one can escape death. No one can avoid death. Everyone has to surrender to death, because we are all mortal beings. Everything is mortal. Nothing is permanent here in this world. So death is very proud of his power. And what actually happens, that death drags us in his dark shade. It's a poetical interpretation of death. Okay, so when Shakespeare says that, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, it means that your beauty will not disappear in the darkness of death. You will not die. Okay, you are an exceptional to this rule. Death will lose the battle in this case. Death can't kill you. Even death, all-powerful death, can't kill you. Death is inevitable. Okay, but you are an exceptional in this case, because I will immortalize you. How? When in eternal lines to time thou growest. Now we have got the answer. When in eternal lines to time thou growest. Now you live in my eternal lines. Which lines are eternal? What does it mean, eternal lines? The lines that Shakespeare wrote, the lines of this sonnet, the powerful lines of his poetry are eternal, because it will not die. People will remember these lines forever. These lines will live forever in the mind, in the core of the heart of the readers, of the people of this world. So these lines are eternal, these lines are everlasting, this line will not die down with the passage of time. Time, death can't kill these lines. Okay, like our Rabindra Sangeet, right? So, when in eternal lines to time thou growest, the meaning of the line is, if I inscribe you in my lines, if you are inscribed in the lines of my poetry, Shakespeare says, if you are grafted in the lines of my poetry, you will never die. What will happen with you then? You will grow with time. To time thou growest. You will grow with time. That means you will be an organic part of time. Time is not born. Time, uh, you know, time just exists. Time is not born. Time never dies. It just exists. And if you are an organic part of time, you will grow with time and you will never die because you are a part of time. How can you die? Time never dies. Time just exists. It flows on. It's like a flow. We don't know when time was born. We don't know when time will die. It's not possible. Time just exists and you will exist being a part of this time. You will be an organic part of this time. Very deep philosophical thoughts lies in this line. When in eternal lines to time thou growest. So when you are inscribed, when you are kept in the heart of the powerful lines of my poetry, you will grow with time. Okay? You will be far beyond the reach of death. You will not die. Your beauty will not leave you. Okay? You can keep your beauty with you forever because you will be living in the heart of my poetry. So by virtue of the strength, the power of my poetry, I will immortalize your beauty. That's the theme of the poem. That's the theme of this sonnet number 18. So it's immortality through verse. It's not the procreation theory that we have in the first 17 sonnets, as I told you. It is a different kind of sonnet. Here also, Shakespeare wants to preserve the beauty of his friend, but in a different way. By virtue of the strength of his verse. That's the way. It's a new way. So the concluding couplet is, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. I repeat, it's very important. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. This gives life to thee. This part is very important. So my poetry is giving you a new life. It is not that kind of life that we have. Okay, we have also life, but it's mortal. But Shakespeare's poetry is going to give his friend a kind of life that is immortal, that is beyond the reach of death. It is an immortal life, everlasting life. And it can happen only in the eternal lines of Shakespeare's poetry. So long men can see, so long this earth exists, so long this poetry exists, so long will you live forever in the mind of the poet, forever in the lines of this poetry. As long as men can see, as long as this earth exists, so long will you live in the heart of this poetry. You will be preserved, your beauty will be preserved in the core of the heart of this poetry. And if the lines of this poetry are eternal, if the lines of this poetry are imperishable, then with it you are imperishable too. Because it is the strength of this poetry that will make you immortal. You will be beyond the law of nature. You will be an exceptional to this rule. So this is how Shakespeare wants to preserve the beauty of his friend through his verse. He is going to immortalize the beauty of his friend. So by any means, Shakespeare will not let it die. He knows that his lines are eternal. And look at the line, the first line of the third quatrain, but thy eternal summer shall not fade. So it's already confirmed that his summer is eternal. Again, the last line of the third quatrain, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So Shakespeare knows that his lines are eternal. So once he is inscribed in these lines, once he is grafted in these lines, the beauty of his friend will be eternal, will be imperishable. So it will not die, it will not fade like the summer's day. Now we understand that why Shakespeare doesn't want to compare the beauty of his friend with that of the summer's day. This is the reason. Because Shakespeare doesn't want the beauty of his friend to die like a summer's day. He wants it to be imperishable. He wants it to be immortal. Okay, so this is the theme of the poem. This is the theme of the sonnet number 18. It is one of the most famous sonnets. Okay, so you are very lucky, in fact, that you have this sonnet in your syllabus. So read this sonnet again and again, try to feel it, then you can feel the power of poetry. Okay, now and another topic. In 2020, the question came from the first quatrain. So in the next year, in 2021, I think these lines are important. First of all, and every fair from fair sometime declines. This line is very important. These two lines, of course. And every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. These two lines are very important. And the last two lines of the third quatrain, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade when in eternal lines to time thou growest. These two lines are very important. And the concluding couplet, exceedingly important, especially the last part of the concluding couplet. These gives life to thee, because this particular part encompasses the entire theme of the sonnet number 18. Okay, this gives life to thee. How? Immortality through verse. Okay, use this phrase in your answer, immortality through verse. Okay, it will make your answer very powerful. So this is sonnet number 18. I hope you have understood the sonnet. I have explained all the critical points of this sonnet. So okay, fine. It's so thank you for this day. Stay safe. See you soon.